everybody, it's Miss Marie, and this week for Storytime we are going to be reading all about special warm fuzzy blankets. I have this blanket I just got this year as a gift. It's so soft and warm. I love to throw it on my shoulders when I'm working on the computer or watching a movie. Sometimes we have brand new blankets we love. Sometimes we have older blankets that somebody made for us that was special to us. We hold on to those. And today we're going to be celebrating those blankets and enjoying them. So grab your blanket, bring it with you for story time, and cuddle up. And we're going to be listening to warm, fuzzy stories about warm, fuzzy blankets. And I can't wait to start. All right, I'll see you soon. All right, everybody, I am not tired of my snowflake dance yet because I still am waiting for some snow. So let's do our snowflake dance. Are you ready? Snowflakes, snowflakes, dance around. Snowflakes, snowflakes, touch the ground. Snowflakes, snowflakes in the air. Snowflakes, snowflakes everywhere. Snowflakes, snowflakes, dance around. Snowflakes, snowflakes, touch the ground. All right, good job. All right, everybody, grab your special blankie and let's go listen to some great stories. All right, hello everybody. So we're going to begin our Tuck Me In story time today. It's not really a bedtime story, so it's story time as much as stories about blankets and quilts, things that make us feel cozy and warm on a cold, cold winter day. The first book I'm going to read, I really love. I used to read this to my kids. It's about a quilt, which is a type of blanket that is made out of many pieces of fabric stitched together. And many people are very skilled at quilting and making blankets out of scraps of fabric. My grandmother was really good at it, and she made me a beautiful rainbow quilt when I was a little girl. I have it still in my attic in a special box, storage box for it. And so a lot of times a blanket that is made by somebody has a story to tell. And in this book is called A Far-Fetched Story. And it's very silly about what happened to everybody's clothes and how they become scraps of fabric. And far-fetched means kind of unbelievable. And I think you're going to find a lot of the stories in this are unbelievable. The book is by Karen Cates, and its pictures are by Nancy Carpenter. And on the front, you can see scraps of fabric all around it from different sources. And then somebody's telling their Nana a far-fetched story. And this book is published by Green Willow Books. And here on the front page, you see a little mouse scampering by. And here we see a family chopping wood. Well, it looks like the Nana's chopping wood and getting ready for winter. The rest of the family's lounging around. So let's see what happens in this far-fetched story. Now we see smoke coming out of the chimney, so it must be getting cold. Early one autumn, long ago and far away, the wood pile was higher than the windowsills. But even so, there was not enough firewood to suit Grandmother. "Look," she said, "a whole handful of spiders moved into the kitchen last night. That's a sure sign that a long, hard winter is coming soon." Grandmother sighed and looked at her grandson. The boy had been making a nuisance of himself all morning, so Grandmother asked him to go to the woods and gather just one more armful of firewood. And grandmas are usually full of good information and sayings like it's going to be a hard, cold winter if there's spiders in the house. Things like that. My grandma was full of those good stories. The boy hurried off down the hard dirt footpath that led from the house into the darkness of the old woods. He had always believed that a lone wolf lived deep in the woods, and now there was a chance to spy the wolf for himself. Do you think the boy feels like collecting firewood? It's still a nice day. He wants to go out and play. When the boy returned home, he had not a single stick of firewood, and his shirt was in shreds. "Where's my firewood, and what in the world happened to your shirt?" asked Grandmother. "A wolf!" cried the boy. "It tore my shirt with its terrible pointed fangs. It made me forget all about the firewood. I barely escaped with my life." Look at that, the boy is telling his grandma he was chased by a wolf. "Well, that's a far-fetched story," said Grandmother. "It's a pity and it can't be helped. I'm afraid we'll have to burn your shirt for firewood." "Oh, no, please," begged the boy. "It's my favorite shirt." "I know, dearie, but a long, hard winter is coming." Slap bang, Grandmother threw the striped rag into the empty wood box where she liked to keep extra armful of firewood for emergencies. Then she said, "Where is your sister? I bet that girl can get one last armful of firewood." The shirt's going into the rag pile. Huh? So the girl skipped off to gather firewood. She had known for a long time that a deer had been trampling and even sleeping in the tall weeds behind the old tool shed, and she had been longing to feed it from her very own hand. But when the girl returned home, she had not one stick of firewood, and the hem of her dress was raggedy as if it had been nibbled around. "Where's my firewood? And what in the world has happened to your pretty dress?" asked Grandmother. Uh-oh, look at the dress. What do you think she's going to say happened? "A deer!" cried the girl. "First it ate my apple, then it tried to eat my dress. It made me forget all about the firewood. I barely escaped with my life." "Well, that's a far-fetched story," said Grandmother. "It's a pity, and it can't be helped. But I'm afraid we'll have to burn your dress for firewood." "Oh, please no," begged the girl. "It's my favorite dress." "I know, dearie, but a long, hard winter is coming." And slap bang, Grandmother threw the flowered rag into the wood box. Then she asked both children, "Where's your mother? I wonder if she could get that one last armful of firewood." So Mother wandered off to gather firewood, and when she returned home, she had not one stick of firewood, and her gown was unraveling into great lengths and loops of blue and red and black and golden threads. "Where's my firewood? And what in the world happened to you?" asked Grandmother. "Swans!" cried the mother. "They surrounded me, they plucked at my gown, and I myself went spinning round and round. They made me forget all about the firewood. I barely escaped with my life." Swans, huh? "Well, that's a far-fetched story," said Grandmother. "It's a pity and it can't be helped. And I'm afraid we'll have to burn this whole tangle for firewood." "Oh, no, no," begged Mother. "It's my favorite gown." "I know, dearie, but a long, hard winter is coming." And slap bang, Grandmother threw the paisley rag into the wood box. Then she turned to the two children and said, "Where's your father? We really must have just one more armful of firewood." So Father strode off to gather firewood. When the father returned home, he had not one stick of firewood, and his shirt was full of great claw-like holes. "Where's my firewood? And what in the world has happened to your shirt?" asked Grandmother. "A bear!" cried the father. It tried to steal my shirt with its terrible claws. It made me forget all about the firewood. I barely escaped with my life." "Well, that's a far-fetched story," said Grandmother. "It's a pity and it can't be helped, and I'm afraid we'll have to burn your shirt for firewood." "Oh, please no," begged Father. "It's my favorite shirt." "I know, dearie, but a long, hard, cold winter is coming." And slap bang, Grandmother threw the plaid rag into the wood box. "We really do just need one more armful of firewood." She looked around in a determined way. "Where's the baby?" she asked. The baby was in the backyard, picking up little sticks and throwing down little sticks and picking up little sticks and throwing down little sticks. But soon she began to follow something soft and jumpy. Whose footprints are those? Anybody know? When Grandmother finally found the baby, she was wearing only her diaper and a long flyaway sash. Her dress was missing. "Where have you been?" cried Grandmother. "Rabbits," said the baby. "And what in the world happened to your beautiful dress?" asked Grandmother. "Rabbits," said the baby. "And how did you manage to untie your sash all by yourself?" asked Grandmother. "Rabbits," said the baby. And there, the baby is sort of trying her best with one word to tell Grandmother what happened. She followed the rabbits, they took her dress, and they had a dancing party, it looks like. Think Grandma believes the baby? "Rabbits," repeated Grandmother. "Well, that's a far-fetched story if I ever heard one." She shook her head at the long, snaky, polka-dotted sash. "It's a pity and it can't be helped. And I'm afraid we'll have to burn this useless sash for firewood." "Oh, no," said Baby. "I know, dearie, but a long, hard winter is coming." And slap bang, Grandmother tossed the polka-dotted rag into the wood box. Grandmother began to pace back and forth. What a pretty mess this was, a jumble of rags instead of a neat pile of extra firewood she had wanted, and a kitchen full of spiders. And look, a field mouse scurried through a crack under the door as if it knew too that a long, hard winter was coming. And right on the tips of its hind feet, the first breath of cold air rushed inside. "We'll have to burn these rags tonight," thought Grandmother, with the whole family shivering. They've had to give up all their favorite clothes. But the minute she picked up one of the rags, her fingers seemed to caress it as if she had found some kind of treasure. The fabric was so soft. The colors were so bright. She had a little piece of a rag against her cheek and felt as comforting as a kiss. Suddenly, Grandmother plunked herself down beside the woodbox and began to rummage around through all the rags. Then she took out a pair of scissors and began to cut and snip and trim. When she had finished cutting, and she threaded several needles with brightly colored threads and began to stitch and stitch and stitch. Soon she had made something as long and wide as a bed and as thick and warm as a coat. It made a different kind of warmth for firewood. It made the kind of warmth that lasts forever, instead of disappearing and burning as firewood does. What did she make? There, said Grandmother, a far-fetched story quilt, and just in time, too. The quilt was so large and cozy it kept the whole family as warm as toast and as safe as fairy tales all through the long, hard winter which came, just as Grandmother said it would. Oh, what a beautiful quilt she's made. Oh, I love that. And that is the end. So whether you believe the stories that the family told to Grandmother about what happened to them, or you don't, in the end, she made something beautiful. Very warm quilt out of lovely extra fabric that keeps the family warm and has wonderful stories in it. And I like that one a lot, and I love the whole idea of a story in a quilt. Okay, our next story is going to be on the board, and it's actually more of a poem. It's called The Quilt That Grandma Made, and it reminds me of the story we just finished about that wonderful far-fetched story quilt. This one is just a cuddly quilt, and it goes like this. You ready? Cuddly rabbits, cuddly bears, and cuddly chicks, and ducks in pairs, right? That's 1, 2, a pair. Cuddly geese, and a cuddly sheep, a cuddly heart to help me sleep. Cuddly ponies, 1, 2, 3. Cuddly puppies, and cuddly me, all in the quilt that Grandma made. And you can see the baby there, all cuddled up under this quilt that Grandma made. I think that was really cute, and I like the way it forms a little quilt with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 squares. Should we read it one more time? Cuddly rabbits, cuddly bears, see if you can find everything, cuddly chicks, and ducks in pairs in the quilt that Grandma made. Cuddly geese and cuddly sheep, a cuddly heart to help me sleep in the quilt that Grandma made. Cuddly ponies, 1, 2, 3, cuddly puppies, and cuddly me in the quilt that Grandma made. All right, then that's the end of that story on the board. Alrighty, so, all right, does everybody have their shaker bells, their jingle bells? All right, let's sing our first jingle song. Ready? Shake your bells in the air, in the air. Shake your bells in the air, in the air. Shake your bells in the air and shake them over there. Shake your bells in the air, in the air. Shake your bells on the side, on the side. Shake your bells on the side, on the side. Shake your bells on the side and smile really wide. Shake your bells on the side, on the side. Good. How about shake your bells way down low, way down low. Shake your bells way down low, way down low. Shake your bells way down low, then shake them really slow. Shake your bells way down low, way down low. Good job, everybody. Good job. All right, should we sing Ring Those Bells and Turn Around? Ready? Ring those bells and turn around. Ring those bells and turn around. Ring those bells and turn around. Ring them for all to hear. won't be able to see yours, and you probably won't be able to see mine, but let's stomp our feet. Here we go. Ring your bells and stomp your feet. Ring your bells and stomp your feet. Ring your bells and stomp your feet. Ring them for all to hear. Good job. How about march around? I've got a small spot here. Here we go. Ring those bells and march around. Ring those bells and march around. Ring those bells and march around. Ring them for all to hear. Can you touch your toes? Okay, here we go. Ring those bells and touch your toes. Ring those bells and touch your toes. Ring those bells and touch your toes. Ring them for all to hear. Good job, everybody. All right, how about we sing Jingle, Jingle, Little Bell? Okay, ready? I think you're going to know this tune. See if you can guess what song this is, the music part. Here we go. Jingle, jingle, little bell, I can ring it oh so well. Ring it fast, ring it slow, ring it high, ring it low. Jingle, jingle, little bell, I can ring it oh so well. Do you remember where that song is? Twinkle, twinkle. Good job. All right, here we go. How about we sing Frère Jacques? We'll do it in French and then in English. Ready? Frère Jacques, dormez-vous, dormez-vous. Sonnez les matines, ding dang dong, ding dang dong. Are you sleeping, Brother John, Brother John? Morning bells are ringing, ding dang dong, ding dang dong. Good job, everybody, good job. Okay, so we learned about how, we read a nice story about how a quilt can bring a family together. This wonderful new book by Lizzie Rockwell is about how a quilt can bring an entire community together, a town, just like our town. It's called The All Together Quilt by Lizzie Rockwell, and Lizzie Rockwell does the pictures as well. And wow, what beautiful end papers with all these different quilt pattern fabrics on the ends. And this book is published by Alfred Knopf. And here we see on this page, sewing machine, and lots of fabric scraps and pins and needles, scissors, all the things we're going to need to make a quilt. Jennifer and her friends meet on Fridays at the community center. They are making a quilt. Everyone works together. And here we see children and adults working together to make a quilt. It's going to take a lot of time. Let's see. First, Jennifer picks a fabric from the dark colors. Fran picks a fabric from the light colors. Oh, I guess so they can contrast and stuff. Let's see how they pull it together. Jennifer traces a shape on the dark fabric. Then she traces the shape on the light fabric. Fran cuts out the two shapes. Oh, so they're dividing up the work too. And the shape she's cutting is a big triangle. See that? Jennifer pins them together. Fran sews them together. Again, they're splitting up the work. Richard and Maurice work together. They trace and cut and pin and sew. It looks like they've switched it, and the little boy's getting a chance to use the sewing machine. Look, two triangles together make one square. Do you see that? Two rectangles together make one square. Oh, that's interesting. We can piece them together to make a different shape. Fran and Jennifer, Richard and Maurice, Sana and Melissa, Anna May and Trinity, Maria and Jocelyn, Natalie and Viola, Angela and Betty, and Ernestine and Zach. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 pairs, adults and children working together on this quilt. Together in pairs, they make 8 squares. Oh, so 1 square per group. Except for Naika. Except for Naika. Naika works on 1 blue square. She uses special pens and paints and brushes. What's she doing? She's making a special square. And I see a hole in the middle of this layout here. I wonder if that will go there. Who knows? Let's see. Next, they arrange the squares. They turn them and move them this way and that. There are so many combinations. Look at all the different combinations. And I know there's even more that they could think of. They've even sort of put an arrow in the middle of one of them. And they keep moving around that special square. Let's see where they like it. The last one they try is their favorite, so right in the middle. I would have picked that too. This quilt will have a border around 4 sides. Jocelyn measures and Anna May cuts 4 white rectangles. The pieces look plain, but not for long. Oh boy, what are they going to put on those pieces? And look, she's using a rotary blade. It's a special cutter that rolls, kind of like a pizza cutter. A heavy plastic ruler for measuring and cutting, and a rubber mat that protects the table. So those are some special quilting tools that they're using. Anna helps Jennifer cover the palm of her hand with paint. Jennifer presses her hand onto the fabric. Friends are invited to make handprints too. What are they going to do with that? Remember they said it was the folder? Let's see. Now all the pieces are ready. Labels show which piece goes where. So they're telling us where the pieces are going to go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then the sides are labeled. They pin and sew and iron all the pieces together. Soon the patchwork is completed. That's what you call this kind of quilt that's made out of many pieces put together. It's called a patchwork quilt. Now it is time to layer the quilt. The patchwork goes on top, and then a soft fuzzy batting in the middle for warmth, and then a backing fabric on the bottom. The layers are held in place with basting stitches. The quilt is attached to wooden rods. It is rolled tight and stretched across sawhorses. Square notches in the sawhorses hold the rods in position. This makes a quilt frame. What are they going to do? They've already sewn all this together. What are they going to do? At the frame, Sana learns to stitch. She pokes the needle down from the top and back up from below. It is hard to find the right spots. She practices and learns. It takes a long time to quilt the quilt. Everybody lends a hand. So the actual quilting part comes in when you go around and sort of make sure that the top part is attached to the bottom part and through all of the middle parts, the filling. That's called quilting. On many, many Fridays, they sit and stitch and talk together. It takes a lot of work to make a quilt like this. Finally, the last stitch is stitched. The quilt is taken off the frame. It is trimmed into a neat square. Dot sews on purple binding to close the edges. Many hands worked together to make this beautiful quilt. But who will have it now that it is done? I don't know. Who's going to have it? Only one person can keep that and bring that home, right? Or maybe they're not going to bring it home. Let's see. But all of that has been stitched on so that it won't fall off and stuff in the snow. Everyone will have it. It hangs in the library for all to see. It is the quilt that Jennifer and her friends made all together. And there is the community coming around to see the beautiful new quilt. And right in the middle is a peace sign. Peace. And this is apparently based on a true story for the Norwalk Community Quilt Project. They did a beautiful quilt for the community. And there you see a photograph of all the adults and younger people, children that worked on it together. And I think that's really nice. And I love that story, and I love that it's based on a true story. I love that it has information about all the different fabrics and all the different quilt patterns, because there's many different quilt patterns. Squares, shoe fly, which is this sort of one in the middle, friendship star. All these are different patterns you can put together on the square itself or on the entire quilt. And it's just beautiful. And I really love that story. I hope you really liked it too. And this one is new. This is the first time I've read it out loud. We just got it this year. So. All right, I have one more story for you. It's short and fun, and it really ties together perfectly with our craft and our storytime theme, which is Tuck Me In. And this is by Dean Hacohen and Sherry Scharschmidt. And it is published by Candlewick Press. And here on the end papers, we see all kinds of cuddly little animals with big eyes in the dark. I guess it's supposed to be dark and you can see their eyes. And it's called Tuck Me In. And here we see the sun is setting. It means it's going to be bedtime. It's time for bed. Who needs to be tucked in? I do. Little Piggy says I do, so let's turn the page. And oh, we tuck Piggy in with a little pink blanket. Good night, baby pig. Who else needs to be tucked in? I do. There's little Zebra shivering. Should we tuck Zebra in? Oh, what a pretty blanket. Good night, baby Zebra. Who else needs to be tucked in? I do. Let's see, what a little baby elephant's blanket look like. Oh, pretty. Good night, baby elephant. Who else needs to be tucked in? I love the colors in this book. It's so much fun. I do. What kind of blanket is this? Oh, toothy blanket. Good night, baby alligator. Who else needs to be tucked in? I do, says the moose. Oh my goodness. Good night, baby moose. Who else needs to be tucked in? This is fun. I do. Let's see, what kind of blanket do we get here? Oh, good night, baby hedgehog. Who else needs to be tucked in? Peacock. I bet a peacock would have a fancy blanket. Let's see. I do, says baby peacock. Oh, not that fancy, but very pretty. Good night, baby peacock. Does anyone else need to be tucked in? Do you? Good night, you. And that's the end of that one. And that's a really fun one, kind of silly, short little book. But I thought it was really nice, and it really kind of ties in perfectly with our craft. So if you picked up a craft bag and you're ready to make a craft with us, stick around. If not, you can turn off the video, and I'll see you next week. All right? Thanks for coming in and reading about some fun, cuddly blankets with me. Bye. Okay, so in our craft bags for today, you're going to need your little teddy bear to color in, your blue piece of paper, which should have a little piece cut out like that, so that when you open it, it's like the blankets in our Tuck Me In book, okay? And then some scraps of fabric, scraps of paper that could be like sort of quilt pieces. You should have plenty of those. And then you're going to need to grab crayons or markers, however you want to color in your little bear, and you're going to need some glue. All right, I'm going to color my little bear in. Let's see what colors I have in here. I think he's going to have some purple jammies. That and like this, and oh, I forgot I had some of these green ones here that can get used. I have some markers or crayons and draw on those squares if you want to put letters on there or animals. All kinds of neat things you could do right now to make this your own special quilt. Stuff gets sticky pretty fast. Okay, so now I have my quilt all ready. I'm going to put some glue on the back of my teddy. I'm going to put Teddy under the quilt blanket. Tuck Teddy in. So there you have it. Who needs to be tucked in? Teddy needs to be tucked in. Just like our book, Tuck Me In, and just like our story time. All right, everybody, have a great rest of the week, and I will see you next week, and enjoy your warm, fuzzy blankets. Bye.